morning. This is Judy Saxon, and welcome to the Right Now Show.
And I'm Charlie Redner, where we put the focus on writers, writing, and the arts. Hi, Judy.
Hi, and I am so excited, Charlie, to speak
I
with
know.
you today. Wow. His name is Luis Alberto Urrea. He's an award-winning and best-selling author. He's a Pulitzer Prize finalist for his book, The Devil's Highway, which, like his novels, The Hummingbird's Daughter and Into the Beautiful North, were all bestsellers. He was born in Tijuana to a Mexican father and American mother. He's taught at Harvard, University of Louisiana, University of Colorado at Boulder. Currently, he's a distinguished professor at the University of Chicago, University of Illinois, Chicago. And
Wow.
I understand you're a friend of his, Charlie.
I think I am. I admit to that if he does.
How did you meet? How did you meet?
How did I meet? There's this little paper in Tucson called The Star, and I saw this notice, and I'm just in from Philadelphia. I just moved to Tucson, and it said this guy, I probably would have said, Louis Al Urara is speaking tonight, and I'm going to go hear him, you know? So I went, and he was giving a presentation. He had just won an award, the Lawrence Clark Powell Award, and he gave a lecture. And after the lecture, I was polite, and I got up, and I walked to the back of the room, and he had a bunch of books out there for sale. And I reached for one, I grabbed it, and then I started to exit. I read the first 3 lines. I spun on my heels, went back to that table, bought every book that he had published to then, went down, stood in line with my arms full of books saying, Luis, please sign these for me. And the book was Nobody's Son. I love this book. It's still my favorite, Luis. Hi.
Thank you. Hi, good morning.
Welcome. Well, where do we start? Luis, I understand you moved to San Diego when you were 3. You were dying of tuberculosis, and your family moved to get better. Fast forward to you graduated from the University of California in San Diego in creative writing, and then did graduate studies at University of Colorado in Boulder. And I love your story. How did you get to Harvard? Could you tell us that story about the janitor?
Right. Well, yeah, I was the first member of my family to go to college. And my mom and dad were separated. My dad, short form of the story, had gone to Mexico, driven 27 hours to get me money. He wanted to give me a graduation gift, and he was caught by crooked Mexican cops on the border and died. So it put a real spin on my life. You know, the cops, I think Charlie knows this story, but the
Yep.
cops forced me to buy his corpse. They wouldn't let me bury him.
Yes.
I had to buy him.
Oh,
And it destroyed us in every way, financially and so forth. So I got out of college, and I wanted to do something meaningful. You know, if I had only known Charlie was, you know, a cinema guy, I would have looked him up. I worked as a film extra for a while, but I ultimately ended up joining a group doing relief work, missionary work, relief work in Tijuana.
yeah.
And that's what I did for years. But it took a big toll. It was a very dark time, you know, a lot of awful stuff. I was with people in the Tijuana garbage dump and orphanages and prisons, and I saw a lot of terrible stuff.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
I don't think it was good for my psyche, though in the long run it probably was, because it gave me a lifelong obsession with witness. Anyway, my writing professor from UCSD had gone on to Harvard, and we were good friends. We corresponded all the time.
Uh-huh.
And I was working night shift as a janitor, and I was also on off days doing bilingual tutoring at a community college Chicano studies department. And my job was, I was head of the toilet duo. Right? Yeah. So I was, you know, I would spend the day in the garbage dump, and then on some nights in this job, and I had become the human poo expert.
Oh,
So
dear.
I could get it, you know, I can't believe, it's pardon me for, you know, it's early in the day to be gross, but it's if you do this job, it's as though tourists swallow hand grenades and explode in those bathrooms.
I know.
But it was really depressing. And I thought, this is my college education. This was,
Oh.
and I had been working as a graveyard shift clerk at 7-Eleven. I mean, it was just, it was Kerouac-y, in its details. And so I wrote to this guy, Lowry Cheng Wu Pei, Chinese American guy. And I told him my fate. And I said, I don't know what to do. And I'd like to get a janitor job. Can you get me a job as a custodian at Harvard? I've never been anywhere. I've been to Mexico. Well, I've been to the Grand Canyon. I've never been anywhere. I don't have money. I've never really made any money. As an extra, I made $27 a day and a thing of fried chicken, And what I did not know is that he was second in command of the expository writing program.
Wow.
I just thought, professor is going to pull some strings for me.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote me back and he said, I think I can get you a job, actually. I think I can. He said, but to get a job here, you're going to have to send me 3 published pieces. And I was such a hick, my friends, my homies and I used to hang out in a donut shop in Claremont. And I went down there and I said, dudes, the Ivy League stinks, man. To be a janitor, you got to be a published poet, man. And they were all like, oh, we hate them. Yeah, Harvard. But I sent the pieces, and I got a teaching job to my eternal shock.
Yeah.
And it changed my life. It changed my life.
Wonderful story.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was the first time I'd ever, been on my own. It's certainly the first time I'd been on the East Coast, first time I ever took a subway, and to be at Harvard, it was almost overwhelming. I was certain I was going to fail.
And you saw these notices on the wall. You said that they would post notices on trees and poles, and you'd see what was going on there.
These superstars, man. Sergeant Slaughter, the wrestler, going to be at Harvard Square. I'd be like, whoa. And the one that just completely blew my mind as I was walking across campus, and there was a piece of typing paper taped to a light post, and it says, Lamont Library, 1 o'clock, John Irving in room 302.
Wow, yes.
And I thought, John Irving? John, are you kidding? So I went in there, and I was looking timidly, and there's Irving sitting in a room with a couple of kids, and he saw me, he said, hey, come on in. And I thought, oh my God, and I went and I sat down, and I remember thinking, I'm going to get arrested. I'm not allowed to, John Irving. And he talked, and you guys will appreciate this, knowing, the themes of your show, but he says, kids, I've been working on this book, and I'd like to show you some of it and see if it's corny or not. It's called A Prayer for Owen Meany. Can I share some of it? And we didn't know, we're like, yeah, sure, yeah. And he read one of the baseball scenes.
Wow.
And it was astounding. And it was over, and everybody was filtering out, and I went up to him, and I just said, Mr. Irving, I just want to tell you, Garp changed my life. Yeah, I'd never read anything like Garp, and I've read it over and over and over again, and I went and read all of your books because of it, and so on. And he looked at me and he said, that place that Jenny works, that runs a rescue place for abused women, and Garp grows up there? And I said, yeah. And he said, that's where I grew up.
Oh, wow.
And he said, so you'll always see the theme in my work is about that. It's about recovering. It's about surviving abuse and betrayal. That's the worst thing that can happen to somebody.
Wow.
And that was interesting because I was just starting to find my own interest in witness, and to have John Irving of all people say something like that. Go ahead.
Next week, I think they're probably, as soon as classes start up again, there's going to be a poster and a note. It's going to say, Luis Urrea is down the hall here. Come see him.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of that. Of course, now it's Luis is on Zoom.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, that's kind of a blessing. The reason you're here today is because, like Leonard Cohen said, there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Well, you're here because we're able to do this Zoom. Normally, we do it in a little studio here in Laguna Woods, and the only people we have come by are those that are nearby. And so it really is a blessing. Here we are. And what you're doing on Facebook with your
Oh, yeah.
Operation Uplift, tell me about that. I've been a part of it since you started.
I know you have. It's interesting, Operation Uplift. I've wrestled with it, you know, because I guess only people who are Facebook friends of mine can really post on it. But then I thought, well, if you open it to the public, especially the way people are really snarky and crazy right now,
Yes.
it might not be a safe haven necessarily.
Right.
Though I've had so many people now trying to friend me that I've got to go through my full friend list, and anybody who hasn't written to me, I throw them out so new people can get it.
You know, it must be a full-time job because you comment, or you at least say I like on every one of those posts, and there's like
You have to.
300 a day. God bless you, Louis.
Do you want to explain for people that don't know what it is,
Yes.
the premise? Well, tell us.
Yeah. Well, it was just out of the blue one day at at a dark point, as if there haven't been all dark points during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I had just made it through an apocalyptic journey across America with everything burning down behind me. And I finally got to San Diego and everything kaput. And Cindy and I had to shelter in place in a hotel
Yeah.
in Oceanside. Fortunately, it was on the beach. It was before it really got intense. And we got home after a few days, and we were trying to negotiate this and had gotten my daughter out of the dorms, and we were all here in the house trying to work it out. And I was seeing all of these upset things that people were going through, and loneliness and worry and people getting ill, people were dying.
Yes.
My best friend was dying of pancreatic cancer, my last of my best friend. And it was a year anniversary of my dearest friend having died of brain cancer. So it was just a really fraught time. And, I have quite a lively community with folks. And Charlie knows that I have some kind of Jesus complex, so I always want to reach out to people a little bit. We had a little internet site for years called
Cabin 20. Yeah, that's where and all those people are still around. That's
I
amazing.
know.
I love seeing their names up there,
I know. They're now coming over to Operation Uplift. So I thought everybody's upset, everybody's lonely and afraid. And I put up a photograph of a beautiful lavender field in Squim, Washington. This place, I want to buy this place. It's called Purple Haze Farms. And you go there and you're immediately stoned just from the smell. It's the most peaceful place on the planet. So I will toot my own horn. It's a beautiful picture. So I put it up there, and I just called it Operation Uplift, and I just said, what if we just shared beautiful things with each other? And they went insane. I got 600 responses.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I'll do this again. I thought it'd go for about a week, and it turned into chapters. And every once in a while, I can't take it anymore, and I stop for a day or two and then come back. Yeah. So we're today on chapter 94, and we have, I'd say, at least 13,000 images or postings.
Oh my, what a wonderful idea. I was reading it this morning. Oh, it's just, it is uplifting. That's the word. I just loved it. Oh, what a service you are providing by that.
Well, thanks. But it is interesting, because I thought, okay, I didn't know people were going to be this generous, and I didn't know people were going to respond like that. And I thought, like any good thing, there's a good chance you're going to have egg on your face and just look like some hippie moron, Hey, let's put up pictures of bunnies. I know there's a plague, but do you have daisies in your yard?
Yes.
But the point was that it was a society people could be part of. It was a way to sit with somebody when you can't. And there are a lot of folks on there who are alone, like actually shut away alone. I'm lucky. I've got a lovely house. I'm with my beloved wife. We've turned into mad gardener farmers. So I've got, this extravagant lushness outside. And I thought, I think Charlie mentioned that about liking everything. I thought if I'm going to ask people to go out of their way and honest to God, empty out their entire photo bank.
I'm running low myself.
They're taking pictures of their cat now because they're out of,
Right.
the least I can do is thank them or
Participate.
give them a like or respond.
Right. Yeah.
But it is a huge job, and it is kind of a pain in the
Must be.
I'm glad you're going to start taking weekends off. I think
I
that's,
am. I'm taking Saturdays and Sundays for myself. And
good.
but one thing that's amazing to me is people don't know because they don't know each other. I know people, and there are people who are, radical left people.
Mm-hmm.
There are hardcore Trump loving people.
Mm-hmm.
There are some really, crusty gun owning, politically incorrect people, and nobody attacks. Nobody goes political.
Nope.
No, and people sometimes, if you'll notice today, one of my old friends put up, I'm contacting Satan. I'm worshiping Satan for peace. And it's hilarious. Nobody got on her. You need Jesus. It's a great thing that people just are there. And I like the weird sort of illusion that there's some town square somewhere where it's okay. We all just stop by and give each other a scone and a coffee and see how you're doing. Right. Which was the Cabin 20 thing too. That was
it was. That was so beautiful.
Workshops. It showed up during the Operation Uplift. People saying, "Please put up pictures of Cabin 20," and I had to find old pictures of that place. It's just
what was Cabin 21?
Cabin 20.
20. That's a
20. Okay.
I have a long relationship with a writing community in Joseph, Oregon called Fish Trap. It's in the Wallowas in Joseph, Oregon, and it's a writers conference. And it was originally begun writers writing about the West. So it's Eastern Oregon, right near the Idaho border. And it's the valley where Chief Joseph used to live, where the
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they bred the Appaloosa horses in that valley.
Oh.
And it was founded, it's got a really interesting pedigree. It was founded by William Stafford, the great poet, Alvin Josephi, the historian, Ursula K. Le Guin, my discoverer and my original and some other folks. And they've been going for, I don't know.
You also try to go down to San Miguel and you go to Bread Loaf. You've been doing that circuit for a while, but
I go all over, man.
I wanted to talk. You went to the gym this morning, you said, and I'm wondering, I was telling Judy, you had to get physically fit. When you became successful as an author, you found out that travel schedule required a better body than the one you had at the moment. Tell us about that. You have a personal trainer?
Oh yeah, we've got coaches and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
To my eternal horror, my coach is named Thor, so that tells you the trouble I'm in. No, it was just you have to watch out for yourself.
You do.
Yeah. And it turned out that my gift of gab put me on the road a lot. And I have a responsibility to my family and to everyone here to be healthy.
Yes.
I'm not getting any younger, man. I'm turning 65 pretty soon.
That's young.
So,
that's young.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're in Laguna Woods.
I'm telling myself
is 85.
I hope to be here at 85. That's my plan.
I wanted to ask you though, when you're working out and everything, and your travel schedule was horrendous. And I always think about you because I know your schedule. When I see you flying in and out of O'Hare in January and February, my heart just stops because I know how. I mean, it's nerve-wracking. You got to get de-iced 3 times before you take off. And
oh, brother, I tell you, the weirdest one back in the day, and I just want to say, it got so overwhelming, just the travel part and and lucrative, I'll admit, let's face it. You're running a family, so I'm the sole, sort of the primary money donkey, But most of the kids are grown up and they're leading their own lives now. But you start losing the sense of blessing and joy in it. And I thought, I'm just tired. I'm tired of all of it, and I'm having trouble teaching. And you know, and I always now realize when people say, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
You should, because I thought, I wish this would all stop. Well, it did.
Yeah.
So you were teaching, and then were these?
Yeah, I teach. I'm a professor at University of Illinois.
Right. So you were teaching, and you were going like to speaking engagements all over the country. Oh, wow. And were you writing also your books? And
you know, I started telling people, who writes? I sell books.
Yeah,
I'm a marketer. Right. I'm like I'm like the Fuller brush man or something, you know, door-to-door vacuum cleaner guy.
Are you privileged to talk about any of the books that are being converted in Hollywood to either a TV series or movies at the moment?
Well, Charlie, now that you bring it up.
Yes.
Yeah, we sold the last one, The House of Broken Angels, to Hulu Network. So that's
Congratulations. I didn't hear that.
And that's a book that's super near and dear to my heart. And it's coming out in cool foreign editions. I'm especially, I don't know why, super thrilled that it's come out in Russia. So I always show people, you know, I'm Putin's favorite author. You know? And the books come and go for years. Hollywood has taken an interest and then run away. Yep. So a couple of years ago, TNT Network was going to do Into the Beautiful North. And, you know, I did the whole thing and went to TNT Tower and, you know, met Spike, the assistant, you know, all in black with his earpiece, all that stuff. And they dropped all of their Latino programming immediately. And I think it was maybe, I don't know, maybe a response to the heightened rhetoric, you know. And
could be.
I don't know. Yeah. But a lot of things have been optioned and not filmed, which is how I got my house. And we're working, a couple of showrunners and I have been working on Hummingbird's Daughter and Queen of America.
Oh, good.
And I think there's an interesting meeting coming about it.
No, the last time I saw you face to face was down in San Diego, and I think we went to a play together, and I think it was called Into the Beautiful North.
It was adapted into a play, and it's toured around the country a bit. And now I believe the adaptation is being published so that, you know, schools and small community theaters can
do those things. That's wonderful.
Oh, yes.
It's nice, isn't it?
And how thrilling to see your work up on the stage, too.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing.
The actors were great. I loved the show. I actually really enjoyed it. Yeah,
that San Diego one had some controversy in that the director of that one had added musical pieces, and the woman who'd written the play was like, you know. But some of the touches they did, you know, the character of Atomiko,
yeah, he was wonderful.
You know, that guy is such a great actor. And by the way,
good.
We can have some show and tell. I just saw this. But, you know, fans are always sending me stuff. And so somebody who liked that book made me Atomiko's fighting staff.
Holy smokes.
It's
love.
It's exactly as described in the book. It's even got a Hearst power shifter knob on it so he can whack it.
Oh, I see that.
But I can't take it on book tour. Can you imagine getting on a plane with this?
No, you will never
show it on camera.
I have a challenge for you, Luis.
Yeah.
You said something the other day that had caught my eye, and you said, I'm Zoom Man. So I know you're an illustrator and a cartoonist. I picture you, Zoom Man. You have a cape because Zoom Man can definitely fly. He's got a big D on his chest, like Superman, of course. And then instead of a mask like the Lone Ranger, he has a mask that we would be wearing now because of the virus. So
COVID mask.
I'd like to see you sketch that.
All right, I will.
There's a challenge for you.
I'll put it up on Operation Uplift.
Are you writing now in this time, Luis? Are you working on something now? Oh,
yes, ma'am. I hope it's my greatest book, actually. I'm pretty stoked about it. I can tell you, but my mother was a Red Cross World War II hero, and She was in the most forward group of women in combat in World War II by accident. And she was not a nurse, but she was I think Charlie knows this. She was a donut dolly, they called them in the vernacular. A clubmobile woman. And it was a program the Red Cross had where they built these 2.5-ton trucks.
Yeah, the deuce and a
with
half.
galley in the back. Yeah, and they sent these women into combat to make coffee for the troops. And, you know, my mom landed on Omaha Beach, for God's sake.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and it's a forgotten story. It's a completely forgotten story. My mother died in 1990, and all of the women from her corps that we know about are gone, except one. And this will show you how blessed this project is. So my mother always talked about Darling Jill. Oh, Darling Jill, this tall, strapping woman who drove the truck. She was like Indiana farm girl, and she was like, "Oh, hell yeah, I can drive a 2.5-ton truck," you know. And but we thought Jill was dead. And Cindy is a reporter, and she is good with the research when I'm not.
Yes.
And we were looking for archives or anything about Jill, and all of a sudden she found a video that is on YouTube called Miss Jill Goes to War. And it was a news story interviewing her and about her being in war. And we suddenly realized, oh my God, wait a minute, she's in Champaign, Urbana.
Oh no.
2 hours away from us.
Wow.
The last living and my mother's best friend. What?
Oh my goodness.
And so Cindy did the good old school thing and wrote Miss Jill a letter, a very respectful letter. And she called us right back. And, you know, she, at that time she was 94.
I was going to say 90 something. Yeah, for sure.
She's 101 now.
Oh.
And she was completely together. And I didn't know Phyllis had a son. I said, well, yeah. You know, when's the last time you talked to her? Oh, probably 1950. I said, well, I was born in 1955, so you missed me. But, you know, and she said, you must come down here and see me. And I said, we will come right away. And she said, don't try to wait until my next birthday, if you know.
God. Well, Judy did an interview with, how many centenarians do we have here in the Laguna Woods, Judy?
Well, then I think it was around 16. Yes, we interviewed people 100 and over. What a great project that was, and getting their philosophy and what they had seen in life, and their wonderful attitude and their resilience. But what a story! Yours, you found Jill.
Jill. And you know, it's interesting because she loved Cindy, she loved me. We took our daughter. She loves our daughter. And she was you walk into her apartment. She's got one of those very old apartments. You know, she's been in it forever. It's a townhouse basically in Urbana. And you walk in and it's 1945. In fact, when we walked in, the first thing you see is a huge framed picture of my mother. In her Red Cross uniform, looking like a movie star. And
my goodness. How
and
was that?
Yeah, it was very touching. And so Cindy, being a reporter, slyly would turn on her phone and record every time we hung out. So we have hours of her remembering. And she has all of her archives and albums, as my mother did. So we suddenly had this gold mine of material, which is what has made the book super rich. And they did come in on Omaha Beach after D-Day. They didn't land in D-Day.
No, they didn't land D-Day, right?
But they then began the journey across Europe, and they got to Bastogne just when the siege began. They were there when the Germans broke through. They were there in the Bulge.
So it was really very dangerous.
Oh, it was very dangerous. Yeah,
she got hurt, right? She was in an accident in the truck. Was that?
Yeah, my mom's legs were almost torn off. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And you know, I grew up with her. She had PTSD. Who knew what it was then? And I grew up with her yelling and screaming in her sleep at night. So
my father too. I understand you then, Luis.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely. Screaming in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And she would tell me, I've never placed exactly where it was, but a night trapped in a farmhouse with tanks driving by all night, and they knew that Russians were coming, and they knew that Russians gang raped all women. That's what they'd been told, and they were waiting to be attacked.
Yeah.
She had a lot of, and anyway, after that, they went on and accidentally liberated Buchenwald.
Will this
So-
have to be, this is a question I have to ask because I'm working on something that's like this, that would it have to be called fiction because you got to fill in gaps and you're doing some scenes that you
Oh yeah,
told secondhand?
it's a novel inspired by this. It's not
Yeah,
my mother's actual story, because I don't think
right.
I know enough. I know a lot, but and I could certainly do, and I'm thinking of doing this anyway, of doing sort of an auxiliary volume, because
With
there's a
just-
lot of photographs. In fact,
Yeah.
there's a guy who's an expert on these donut dollies. I believe he's in Spain. He writes to me sometimes, but they found my mom's truck. It's abandoned in a field in Europe still.
With a number on it, and they know, and they.
Yeah, it's got the
included-
name. It's got my mom's name written on it. It's got yeah, she drove, they were in the Cheyenne. It was abandoned outside of village, I think in Germany.
Oh, unbelievable.
yeah.
That's amazing.
So, we've been all over Europe, and we've gone to Germany, and I had to go to Buchenwald because I didn't want to get the atmosphere of it wrong. And, it's we were going to make our last trip right now, but
Yeah,
it was
Mm,
it
canceled.
got canceled.
yeah. Wow. So now I'm curious, what is your schedule? Do you write every day or a couple hours or I'm in awe of all this. I just
I feel like I'm a slacker. I wish I were more dedicated, but yeah, we get up. I was always a late sleeper, not anymore. I'm always awake between 3 and 5. I don't know why. And so I get up and mess with the dogs, get some coffee, and then I'm out in the garden. I've become addicted to my garden. I've got to see if the peas bloomed or not.
Oh,
To
yeah.
release. Yeah.
I've got corn for the first time in my life, and it must be the Mexican in me, because suddenly I'm having these mystical Mayan, Aztec.
Yeah.
I feel like they're talking to me, man. But that goes on, and then Cindy and I watch news in the morning and hang out, and then sooner or later I wander back upstairs and I start working. I'm trying to work on this novel, and there's a lot of interesting stuff around the novel and the books and so forth. So I have meetings sometimes, and I'm sometimes in the afternoons, usually at 2:00, I get in the writing room with my showrunner friends and we work on. So it's just always something. And
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of this Zoomy stuff, and in between, I'm trying to look at everybody's kitty pictures and giving them likes.
I know when you find time to do that.
Yeah.
Well, you have a wonderful quote that I like. It's about laughter is a virus, which will tell us, which affects humanity.
Yeah, laughter is the virus that infects us with humanity.
That's it. Yes.
It's one of my first writing rules I use with my writing students, the battalions of writing students, because I have this reputation for writing very serious and even tragic books that are funny.
Yes.
And Charlie mentioned The Devil's Highway. Everything's funny because people are funny.
Yes.
And I realized that the genius, I think, of humor is that if you can sit with somebody and have a good deep laugh, not laughing at them or mocking them, just laughing together at our shared travails as human beings. How can you get up from the table and say those people are subhuman? You can't.
You can.
And once you've laughed with somebody, it's not that big a stretch to think you could cry with them.
Yes.
And so, that's part of it on the sort of soul level, but on the compositional level, for me, I like a good laugh. But also you're trying to, and I'm just learning this from the writing table, Charlie, but all of those scriptwriters keep telling me, wow, you're like a movie director. You write cinematically.
You
It's
do.
interesting. Yeah, I guess I do. And they were showing me how I used directorial scene shifts as though I were making a movie, which is just how my mind works, I think.
Right.
But as a composer, you use the humor to knock down barriers
Mm-hmm.
to seduce the reader, to put
Right.
everybody in a good place, to get information in sideways. Uh, and then when the tragedy comes, oof,
Yeah.
oh, it hits harder. You can drop them. It's kind of sadistic. It's like designing
Yeah.
Big Thunder Mountain at Disneyland, you know?
Yes.
You drop them into a drop that they really feel. I'm not funny when
No.
bad things happen, but you know, you then use it when you've made the point or taken them where they need to go into the shadow to bring them back out. Because I'm
When
not.
you read that first opening paragraph of Nobody's Son, I mean, it's funny in a sense, but to you, it must, I mean, to think I'm reading it and it's a funny scene, but for
Yeah,
you to
it is.
experience it, it was not that funny, I'm sure.
No, it was fun. I mean,
Was it?
I tried to rescue it, you know, in the further convos about my mom and
Yeah,
me engaged
right.
in lively political arguments. Um, you know, what Nobody's Son is one of those books that now I think, what in the hell was I thinking?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you feel like you revealed too much.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I got up on national TV in my underpants.
You did. You did.
So I might not have done that now. But the other thought was that, you know, that book was for a lot of people who had complicated or mixed experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the response from that book has been very touching because of that.
Well, how are we doing, Luis? Because I gave Judy a copy of Dean Nelson's book, Talk to Me. It's the book
Aha.
about how to, do an interview. So I'm asking Judy today, how you doing, Judy? I'm taking notes and I'm going to give you a grade.
Oh,
How you doing? We're going to have Dean on, by the way. You introduced me to Dean Nelson down there in Point Loma, and
Dean's
he's
great.
such a marvelous guy. I went to the book launch for that book, and I bought about a dozen copies, and I gave them away to my friends. So I think he's a great writer too. He
He's
really
a
is.
lovely guy. I like Dean very much. Yeah,
Yeah,
a
I
good
do too.
interviewer. He's written a book
really good.
about interviewing, but yes,
Yeah.
he's a good interviewer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
Louis,
when he interviewed you, and he asked, I watched it a couple times, and he actually stopped you a few times. I've never seen that with an interviewer. You usually just you're so quick and but he asked some questions that had you thinking for a second before you responded.
Yeah. But you know, he's kind of a theologian, so he
Oh
was
yeah,
hitting
of
me
course
on
he
some.
is.
And you know, it was interesting because I was there at some motel and he called me and one of you remember Richie Fury? He used to be in the Buffalo Springfield. He was a guitarist with
Oh
Stephen
yeah.
Stills and Neil Young. I don't understand what was going on, but he had to go someplace far in the East County to retrieve Richie Fury's guitar. He said, "You want to go?" And I said, "Wow, yeah."
Yeah,
You know,
just to see the guitar, I'll go.
right, right.
Professor Urea, I was wondering
Oh,
what kind of a professor you are. Are you a pass-fail kind of guy, or do you have to work your tail off to get a D minus?
oh,
no, I don't like grades, man. You know, I teach creative writing.
Right.
So, you know, I have this quirk, I guess, but I tell my students, usually mostly grads, uh, I have this cadre
Yeah.
of writing warriors now, you know.
Right.
But I always tell them, look, I don't really care if you get your PhD or not. I hate to say it. I don't like grades. And, you know, I'm not worried about your career. I'm worried about you earning your black belt. This
Yeah.
is not about a job. This is about a life way
Yeah.
that is being a writer. And so do your thing. And as far as I'm concerned, everybody, you know, in here, first of all, you're in grad school, so you better
Right.
have an A by the end of the course.
Yeah.
The
Are you
stakes
going
are
to?
that high for grads, PhDs. So, you know, let's do away with that, and let's have an organic conversation, you know, a real workshop. And I always
Yeah.
tell them, if you can think about this place as a church that has a grease monkey car lift in the middle, you know, you
That's
can
where
do
we
the
are.
technical stuff and the spiritual
The
stuff all at once. That's what I'm
toolbox
interested
and the spirituality of it all. Yeah.
in. Yeah. And it's been great. We have a great
Yeah.
relationship, and a lot of my students end up publishing, which makes me really happy. And a
Oh,
lot
I
of the
bet.
people that I workshop with, you know, in Cabin 20 or Bread Loafers.
Yeah.
So they go on to have careers, and it's really exciting to me to
Where'd
see
you
that.
meet Jamie Ford? I'd like to get him on sometime.
Oh, you should get Jamie Ford on.
Yeah, I
Jamie's-
just got his book The Corner of, I just
Yeah.
Yeah, Bitter and Sweet.
He's one of my besties, man. He's
Yeah. Where did you meet him?
Tucson.
Oh, in Tucson. Well, I saw you introduced me to him in Tucson when we were going there trying to get them to change the curriculum. We're getting rid of all the Spanish
Yes.
books and you were, you were the outcast of Tucson and all of Arizona.
Dude, I was the king of the band, man. They banned everything of mine. It was great.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We didn't win that battle, did we? But we haven't given up.
It's been a complex situation.
Yeah, it's
But,
political. We'll skip it.
I'll tell you the funny thing about it. When that happened, I was walking to an event and a camera crew stopped me. It was a classic, gotcha moment. This camera's in my face, and they said, Luis, we need your response. How do you feel about Tom Horn banning the Devil's Highway? And I said, what? What'd I ever do to Tom Horn? I don't know. I said, why? Banned? For what reason? And the two reasons were, it's anti-American.
Oh my.
And it has devil in the title.
Oh my.
And I remember thinking, this is absurd. I said, first of all, it's not anti-American, and it's being taught at the Border Patrol Academy. So if it's American enough for Border Patrol agents, it's probably okay for Tucsonans or Arizonans to read. And I said, secondly, it's not satanic. It's a map coordinate.
It's a real place.
It's a real place, man.
I know it is. Yeah.
You can go down to Cabeza Prieta and drive the whole thing if you want to. It's a real place. So I said it's not going to happen.
I mean, that's a true story, and it's a nonfiction book. But I'll tell you, it really lifts up those guys that go out there in the desert and save lives like they do. They're amazing, and they're not the hated people that that they people think. I guess they have this impression that every border crosser must hate them. Well, they're saving their lives as they find them in the desert, no water, no food, and their coyotes left them.
Yeah, it's interesting. Right before the shutdown, I still do fundraisers for those guys, Humane Borders and No More Deaths and so forth.
Oh yeah.
And that you'll like this. They had put up a water station in the desert on the Devil's Highway, the westernmost part of the Devil's Highway itself. Mm-hmm. And they christened it the Luis Urrea.
Oh my God! I just gotta get a picture of that. Really?
I can send you a picture. But
yeah, that's halfway to Yuma. Then you're practically.
You're down. Yeah, you're way down. Around Ajo.
Yeah.
And it was. I told them it was the most heart-lifting thing I can't ever get an honor more than that. And
that's wonderful.
It took forever. We drove all the way to Ajo and then got on got permission to go down the road. And we were also working. This was a big water truck, and it was going from station to station and going down the Devil's Highway again. And we got there, and sure enough, it's a tank. It's there in the bushes, and they were so sweet. They read parts of Devil's Highway sort of as instead of scriptures or whatever as a benediction. And then they added Cindy. So it's the Luis and Cindy Urrea.
That is an honor. Wow. I don't know how you're ever going to top that. I mean, you can get a Pulitzer, but you got a water tower named after you, pal.
Yeah, there's nothing better than that ever.
Yeah, go on. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, as soon as we got out and I was walking around, of course, and one of the first things I found was a child's shoe.
Oh.
It just puts it all in perspective for you.
Yeah.
And so we raised a whole bunch of money for them. And
what was that station? I went to that station after you wrote the book.
Welton Station.
It was Welton Station. I stopped in there and said hello to the guys, and they were all fondly remembering you, of course.
The funniest thing about that is that all that crew was so kind to me. Not at first, they didn't.
No, they were.
They gave me a hard time,
yeah.
But I think they were trying to check out. Who was I? What did I want? But Sheriff Ogden, rest his soul, became a dear friend of
The
mine.
beard and the mustache guy with
The big stash
yeah.
and the 10-gallon hat.
I
You
met
know,
him.
he was a wonderful man, and he would send me cool gifts. I have a hummingbird sculpture he sent to me in my writing room. You know, and Kenny Smith, my supervisory agent, we're still friends, and a lot of those agents are. But after the book came out, Yuma did an all city read of the
Did
book,
they?
and they asked me to come speak, and I thought, oh man, you
It'll be a
know,
hard
going
time.
back into the mouth of the dragon, right? I thought they're going to get me for this. And we went to I think it was a community college, and we entered the auditorium, and the whole, as I looked down toward the stage, the whole left side, Border Patrol agents in uniform.
Mm-hmm.
And all the way across on the right side were civilians and Mexicans. And then there were a couple of people in the middle, but clearly, you know, and I thought, oh, dude, I don't know.
I'm in for it.
And so I got up on stage and I started talking, and the Border Patrol guys were the best audience I've ever had. Every joke, they'd yell, oh, yeah. You know, and when I would tell stories about a jerk agent, they'd high five each other and they'd yell, who was up? I said, that was McPherson. He's a jerk. I said, yes. It was amazing. Yeah, I thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought, you know, the raza would be like, yeah, man. And the Border Patrol and scowl was the other way around. Yeah, but after it was over, the commander, the highest ranking guy in that whole group, came up to me and he said, I just want you to know that anything you ever need from us again, we're here for you. You ever want to write more? Come to us, man. We're there. And I was feeling pretty high because I was
bad.
To hell with you guys. I already gave you a book. I'm not writing.
Yeah.
And they liked that. You know.
Yeah.
But
it was $1 million on the table and I'll think about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. How much you gonna bribe me?
That is a wonderful book. I mean, it's tearful, but yet on the other hand, you get to really realize what it's like out there in the desert, both from the aspect of the border crosser and those saviors that get out there and find them. I mean, God bless them.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and you know that book's had a strange resonance. You know, I can, no matter where I go, agents find out I'm that guy, and they're immediately open, which is, especially now, because it's a very fraught situation now.
Yeah, it is, but it's still, the book is so truthful, and it just tells the story.
I'll tell you what, you'll appreciate this. Is kind of a Hollywood kind of thing, but I was asked, I was going on State Department tours when there was still a State Department, and I'd gone to Colombia, and we were doing this outreach up and down the country. It was amazing, through the embassy. Anyway, at the end of it, flew home, and I had bought a bunch of stuff to bring home. Colombian chocolates, but especially Colombian coffee. So I had this big bag, right? Big bag of stuff. You know, it was an ungodly long flight to get home. And they pulled me out of the customs, set me off, and they took me into a room, a locked room with all these customs agents. And they started going through my stuff. And I said, you know, what are you looking for? And they're like, well, you know, Colombia, you got all these packages. I said, and I said, it's okay, go ahead, check it out. I said, by the way, I wrote a book about your brothers in Forest Green. And they looked at me and they said, what book? And I said, I wrote a book called The Devil's Highway. And they're like, you're Luis Urrea? I said, yeah.
You're never getting out of here alive.
No, there was no search. They just dropped everything.
Yeah.
Hey, what were those guys like? What? Blah, blah, blah. And at the end of it, they let me go. And I got to the door and I said, you know, I could have had cocaine in here. Let me go. Knock it out of here.
They didn't think that was funny.
They did.
Did they really?
I think there's a certain point when you need to understand each other as fellow human beings, right?
Yeah.
And then all of the things that separate us might be able to just, you know, because they know that I'm not a red state Republican. They don't care.
No.
And they know that I'm born in Mexico, but they don't care, because they just wanted somebody to see them and tell the truth. And one of those agents told me that at the beginning. He said, we don't care if you hate us. what we care about is that you tell the truth about us. We'll be watching to see if you tell the truth. That's all we want. If you don't like what we do, fine, but tell the truth. And at that time, they were under attack from both sides. They were. You know, all the libs and stuff were, of course, we were all attacking them. Air America and all those folks. Remember that radio?
Yes. Yeah.
But on the right, like Michelle Malkin, even Rush, they were attacking them too. And they felt under siege, and they were being investigated for all kinds of charges, and they were actually facing federal trials, and they felt under siege with nowhere to turn. And that was what weirdly gave me, I thought, a kind of a little bit of soul thing in it, when I realized that these guys, you know, that they would come back to the station late at night just to be around their own kind.
Yeah.
And listen on the radio and hear if everybody's okay. And that's when I said, you know, just another American who loves Jesus, you know, doing his best he can. And I think that got to them. And what was really moving to me is afterward, agents would write to me. I should have had this. I've got it upstairs, but they started sending me they would cut their service patches off and mailing them to me.
Oh my God.
Oh my.
And I was doing a reading, and an agent came in, and he, in front of the audience, pinned me with a service medallion. I said, "What are you doing?" It's a 75th anniversary service medallion. He says, "I'm pinning you, U.S. Border Patrol." And I said, "You can't do that." And he said, "I've got to do that."
Oh,
He
God.
turns around to my audience. It's in Oak Park, Illinois, right? As liberal as you can get. And he says, "If you cut this boy, he bleeds forest green." And I was back you know, stuff like that. And one of the most touching things is the guy, the rescuer, Robin, who led the Boar Star guys, I mean the Boar Star rescuers came into the canyons. He actually sent me the shirt he was wearing.
Oh my.
When he rescued those last people, he sent me the shirt.
What was it, 6 or 7 out of the 13 or so? Didn't make
it? There were 26 guys, 14
6 total.
died.
Yeah.
14 died.
Incredible story.
Powerful.
At the federal alley, the Mexican police weren't too fond of you then for a while, right?
You know, it was dicey, only because I tried to be careful, and I've actually resisted many times a Spanish Mexican edition of it, because I named names, and
you did.
I did not want to cause too much furor for those folks.
Yeah.
They weren't really thrilled when I began the investigation, and the only reason I got access, you know, my dad had been a big deal federal judicial cop in Mexico back in the day, but my cousins, several of them, are in the ambassador corps, and one of them is an ambassador. His son is the national consul general for the U.S. in Washington D.C. right now, but he was a Mexican ambassador. So Urrea is a pretty rare name, and they all knew I was part of that family.
Gotcha.
And because of that, you know, they let me come in. But and interestingly, that nephew, my cousin's son, who's now a consul general, he was in charge of security and information for the Phoenix consulate. So he's the one who actually processed Mendez, the rooster boy.
Yes.
So it was like, you know, fate kept smiling on me to open things up. But at the beginning, the Mexican consul, Flores Vizcarra in Tucson, he wasn't thrilled with me at all. And he chewed me out, and he said, "You don't care. Your publisher doesn't care, and Americans don't care. If somebody cared, they'd be down here, because people die every day. Why aren't you here when a mother dies? Why aren't you here when a pregnant young woman dies alone? You're here because it's a scandal. That's the only reason they want to sell books, because it's a big scandal." And I thought, well, I can either try to con this guy or not. And I said, "Sir, you're right. They don't care." I said, "But if I write this book correctly, we will make them care."
And you did.
Yeah, I hope so. But he stopped, and he looked at me, and he said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
That's
Oh, good. Yes. Yeah. Well, I must ask. Luis, what was it like being a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize for Devil's Highway? Wow.
Um, yeah, I can tell you some insider stuff about that. I probably shouldn't, but it was very wonderful, very interesting, very confounding.
How'd you get notified? Did they just send you a telegram or a call, or did you get a letter in the mail with a gold seal on it or something? How'd that happen?
How far out on a limb do I want to go?
You don't have to answer that, Luis.
No, I serve on lots of committees for major awards and stuff. So there's, like National Book Award, things like that.
Right.
And I've learned how these things work, NEA stuff and so forth. So I got a call at home, and it was the head of that committee, the nonfiction committee.
Ah.
A very lovely gentleman.
Okay.
And he said, well, it's a great book. I thought, oh, and in my mind, I'm thinking, I got the Pulitzer.
Yeah, you spike
And
the ball.
he said, you should win. You should win it. I said, I should? And he said, you should win it, but we have the 9/11 report this year.
So you knew. Oh.
We can't award it. It's historically we have to give it to 9/11.
Yeah.
And he said, but I just want you to know that it would have been my choice. And I was like, oh, darn that 9/11 report.
A year earlier or a year later, you're
but he said
totally
something.
worthy.
It turned out to be true. He said, this will sound Pollyanna to you, but you will find that being a finalist, there's only 3.
Yeah.
It's a short list, and it's going to change your life anyway. And it did.
Yeah, of course it did. We've capitalized on your time today. I'm so thrilled that you came on and you spent this much time with us.
Oh,
and
no,
thank you so much. This will be international too, so you're going to, we show it on local cable, and then you go, boom, it goes around the world. So
yeah.
It's just been delightful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Lovely talking to you guys.
Oh,
Likewise.
yes, thank you.
See you next time.
Take care.
You
Take
too.
care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You have a closing word, Judy, or just you?
Well, that was so inspirational, wasn't it?
It was.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, what a treat. So I guess we'll all just retire to our offices and write, right, Charlie?
That's what I'm doing. I keep writing more poetry during this close down for some reason. I'm writing a ton of poetry.
Are you? Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Well, I finished a short story, so that felt good. I haven't written a short story, and it just kind of, I don't know, it just all came together. I sat down and I wrote it all in one sitting, so
That's good to do that. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say goodbye to our audience and hope they tune in next month as well.
Yes, and thank you for watching. See you soon.
Bye now.
Bye.